I'm Jarrett,
And I'm Evan.
and this is How to FPL. We're two friends who are starting a YouTube channel for FPL that is going to be both entertaining and informative. Hope that you enjoy it. So, to start, we're going to recap some of last week's fixtures, go over what happened. So, Everton had a massive loss to Newcastle for their bid to avoid relegation. Devastating loss for Frank Lampard in his first game in charge. Great win for Newcastle to try and avoid going down. Elsewhere, Man City got a comfortable win against Brentford, as many would have expected. Perhaps the game of the week was Aston Villa versus Leeds in a thrilling 3-3 draw. And also, Arsenal got a huge 1-0 win over Wolves to put them in a great spot to try and finish fourth. So to give a recap of how my team performed, I did wild card going into this game. So a little disappointed with 65 points, I would say. Definitely was aiming for better. Overall, my team did okay. I'd say the forwards were definitely the biggest disappointment. I was not expecting Edouard to only make a 10-minute cameo against Norwich. I was kind of banking on some points from him there and for him to be a regular starter for Palace, given that they have a double game week coming up. My biggest disappointment was definitely Harry Kane not doing anything. I was watching that game against Southampton, and he had chances to score and missed a point blank opportunity. He was getting deep, and he got multiple second assists, but unfortunately, no points. So yeah, 65-point score. I think my overall rank went down to around 60K. So not great.
Hi. So looking at my team, I actually had a pretty good week this week, considering my week last week was an absolute shitter. I captained Dennis for a total of -2.
Me too.
Yeah, as did Jarrett.
Hashtag me too.
Okay. No comment. But yeah, I had Jota this week. Sterling, I hear, got a couple of scrappy assists.
The
Bowen's
scrappiest.
the scrappiest of the scrappy. I went with a somewhat bold move of captaining my man Trent, and he pulled through for me. So I'll take that. And I think that's all we got. All right. So looking at next week's games, we've got United with a double this week. We were going to have a lot of players bringing in people like Bruno, Ronaldo, potentially captaining them, playing Southampton and Brighton. So that's a pretty good set of fixtures. We also have Everton Leeds fighting for the relegation battle, which is definitely going to be interesting. Leeds had a thriller last week, and it'll be interesting to see how the game this week shapes up, with both teams not really being able to afford to lose this game. It's Lampard's second match in charge of Everton.
We'll see if he can bounce back.
Exactly. We'll see.
I don't think so.
Yeah. We'll see. We have Norwich hosting Man City. Probably going to be an absolute shitter for Norwich, but we'll see.
Unless Man City just rotate way too much. We'll see.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. Man City have, Champions League midweek, so they'll probably be rotating a lot. Norwich suck anyway. We have Spurs Wolves. That's going to be another interesting one. Two teams kind of fighting for the top 4 spot potentially. I mean, Wolves are a little bit further away from that, but it'll be a good game. And yeah, that's about what we're looking at for this week.
And so now we're here with the game week 25 clean sheet odds. So these odds are taking into account the double game week for both Man United and Brighton. And so that's why they might have a higher percentage chance than you might think they would. But having said that, Man United and my boy Slabhead Maguire are topping the clean sheet odds potential.
My bad.
Do I think they're going to keep a clean sheet? No, I don't. But that's besides the point. Into that, Liverpool with a 51.5% chance of keeping a clean sheet. I'm sure we all have Liverpool defenders. And moving down the list, Norwich with a 7% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Man City. We'll see how that works out for everybody. Evan, any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's some very lucid analysis there. I would definitely have to agree with you about Norwich. It looks like they have a very slim chance of getting a clean sheet this week. But also, I mean, let's see, looking at Watford with the 27% chance of the clean sheet. It'll be interesting to see how Hodgson's defense first mentality works out this game, because obviously they got their first clean sheet of the season last week.
Evan, I know you still have your triple captain left. Any chance you're going to toss that on Maguire this week with the 62% chance of a clean sheet? We know that Maguire has a goal in him.
Oh man, I mean, we really know he does, and he's looked just so good both offensively and defensively this season. And I'm really considering putting the triple captain on him. However, like the other triple captain that I'm considering for this week is I'm actually thinking of bringing in Brandon Williams this week and placing the triple captain on him. Because I just think that Norwich have such a prime opportunity to get a clean sheet, and Brendan Williams really has it in him to score a goal or two against City, I think.
Be careful, you might speak it into existence.
Yeah. No, I know. I mean, I'm just considering it. Like I'm not trying to make it happen or anything like that. It's just something in the back of my mind. And any triple captain considerations for you?
I think I'll be saving it.
You think you'll be saving it? Okay. And speaking of captains, maybe we should start talking about this week's captain poll. So for this week, obviously United with the double game week, we see a lot of Bruno captainers. Obviously, they're hoping that the game week turns out opposite to this picture of Bruno that we have up here.
Crying after the Europa League final.
Yes, exactly. Ronaldo coming in second with a solid 20% of the vote. And then after that, we have those with single game weeks. Salah's coming back from the Cup of Nations after not starting last week. An interesting development. We have De Bruyne coming in with almost 8% of the vote. De Gea at a solid 6% of the vote. Actually might not be a bad shout for those who don't have a Bruno or a Ronaldo to captain this week. And finally, we have Mapai at just under 2.5%.
If you're thinking about captaining a goalkeeper, I have one question for you. Do you hate yourself? This is a game. You're supposed to have fun with it. Nobody likes captaining a goalkeeper. That's all I'm going to add. Actually, no, that's not all I'm going to add. Honestly, I would not be surprised if all of these captains do very poorly. Let me just go through the reasons. Bruno and Ronaldo, Man United, suck. They look awful. So enough said. Salah, apparently Burnley is just like Salah's boogeyman team. Like he just does not do that well generally against them. We'll see if that happens again this week. I think could still do well, potentially. De Bruyne, I don't even think he's going to play against Norwich. I think he's going to get rotated for the Champions League game. De Gea, he makes saves, but are United going to keep clean sheets? I don't know. And then Maupay, he's a forward for Brighton. They score at most one goal a game. So we'll see. We'll see. What do you think?
Jared, I think you're making a really solid case to captain De Gea this game week. That's all I'm going to say. I'm curious who you're going to captain right now as it stands.
I'm tossing that on Bruno. I don't want to, but I'm tossing that on Bruno.
I think a lot of players are scared of his expected ownership this game week.
Yeah, that's basically. And last time I captained Bruno for a double game week, that turned out pretty well for me. He got 2 goals, 2 assists, I think 4 bonus. So yeah,
Indeed it did. Indeed it did. We'll see if it turns out the same this game week. Moving on. Jarrett.
Moving to the goal scorer odds, we've got Ronaldo topping the charts with 68%. Now, I believe these predictions are assuming that he does start, which he did not in the last game. So we'll see what Ralph Ragnick has in his plan. But Cavani and several other Man United players follow him immediately. Farther down the chart, we've got Salah with a 47% chance of scoring. I'm assuming that is assuming he's going to start as well. Then looking farther down the chart, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, pictured on the right here, has a 39.5% chance of scoring. He also didn't start in Everton's last game. A lot of top scorers not starting last week. Very interesting. And to round it off, we've got De Bruyne with a 35.5 chance, might not start, and Son with a 34% chance. Thoughts?
I think this is a really interesting chart because it can be easy to see the numbers and get your perception skewed of who are likely targets to bring in this game week. Because I'm looking at people like you said, like De Bruyne, like Sterling. I wouldn't be surprised if both of them got benched this week. So I think it's important to, as you said, take a lot of these with a grain of salt in the sense that it really does depend on who gets the start this week. I mean, we don't even know if Ronaldo will start. It's likely, but we don't really know for sure.
We don't really know anything.
We really don't know anything.
That's the summary.
I know. So I think our only logical option, given so much uncertainty at a time like this, is to place the captain on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I mean, how could you not place the captain on someone with such broad shoulders and shining pectoral muscles?
Look at that awesome necklace he has on. Awesome. And then going over how I'm going to line up my team for this coming week. I've got Sanchez in goal. He's got the double game week playing Watford, who I believe are yet to score under Hodgson. And then he's also playing a Man United team that look awful. So honestly, I would not be surprised if he outscores De Gea this week. We'll see though. Then my defense, I've got Cancelo. He might not play, honestly, but that's not really a big deal because I've got decent option coming off the bench in Broja. Alexander-Arnold and Robbo are both playing Burnley away. I'd probably expect them to at least keep a clean sheet, maybe get an attacking return. Luca Digne playing Newcastle. Same story. Might not keep a clean sheet, but I think he has a good chance of getting an attacking return. I'm putting the captain's armband on Bruno Fernandes. I don't feel great about this just because Southampton, I mean, they put Spurs to the sword last week. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. And then Brighton obviously have a very good defense, but he seems like the only option really this week. Then I've got Coutinho, Bowen, Rafinha. They all have points in them. It's just a matter of whether they actually deliver in any given week. Harry Kane, he's very frustrating to own, but hopefully he can get something against Wolves. And then Maupai has the double game week again. So we'll see if he can get something. He's had pretty good stats in his last few starts, but yeah, put the vice captain on him.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, looking at this team, I think this is like a pretty promising lineup coming into game week 25. You have a couple double game weekers. That's as much as anyone can ask for this game week. And you have Coutinho coming off of his, 2 goals and 1 assist last week versus
1 goal and 2 assists.
1 goal and 2 assists versus Newcastle, who have been kind of leaking goals, right? Didn't they just play Leeds for the 3-3?
They just played Everton.
No, they just played Everton.
But they conceded against Everton, and Everton are awful.
Exactly. Yeah. And look at Dean. The Liverpool double up, I think, is really strong on defense. I don't see Burnley putting a goal past Liverpool. And, Robbo is also somewhat of a differential pick.
Yeah, he is still. Let's look at his effective ownership. Yeah, so it's right now 5.8%. So that's definitely still very much a differential. So
yeah, indeed. And he's honestly a player that I would be thinking about getting if it weren't for the fact that I already have 3 Liverpool players. But on that note, maybe we should take a look at like your transfer plans for the coming week.
Yeah, so I already made my one transfer.
And what was that?
It might have been a rash decision because I don't know for sure if it was Edouard out for Broja in. So I needed to free up cash in order to move Bruno Fernandes to Salah for game week 26. But I didn't have that money. And looking at my team, the only real place to get some money from was my forwards, either Malpai or Edouard. And Edouard only made a 10-minute cameo against Norwich. And it seems like Mateta might have the starting striker position for Crystal Palace going forward. And despite the fact that Palace have a double game week in 26 that looks pretty good, I made the decision to pull the trigger and ship Edouard out. We'll see if I regret that. I really hope I don't, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bold move, bringing someone in and then immediately transferring them out.
Definitely not ideal. Definitely, but yeah.
Not an ideal situation. But as you said, Broja actually has pretty decent fixtures after the immediate future.
Yeah, he does. He's home against, after this game, he's home against Everton and then home against Norwich in those 2 games. And that the home against Norwich is in game week 27, in which a few teams have blanks. So those could be some valuable points. We'll see.
Absolutely. All right. So taking a look at my team, I've decided to line up with a 3-5-2 this week instead of a 4-4-2 like yourself. I have the back 3 of Cancelo, who again may not start, but we're going to start him anyways. Alexander-Arnold and Dawson versus Leicester. Another shaky one, but I think worth a start, especially considering maybe the potential for even attacking returns versus a shaky Leicester defense.
And your other defender option is Aït-Nouri away to Spurs. So.
Exactly.
So it's not a great option either.
It's not a great option, but the alternative would be making a transfer, which I'm not going to do.
Plus, actually, Leicester are awful on set pieces, and Dawson has been known to score headers on corners.
Exactly.
It's potential.
There's potential for some points there. I have De Gea in goal. Again, I'd probably disagree with you about Sanchez outperforming him this week, but that is yet to be seen. Again, I have Jota this week. And what's interesting is I was really thinking about whether I was going to get rid of him for Robbo before the double game week 26. But after his brace last week, I think it's definitely the easiest to just keep him.
You're not concerned about his minutes at all?
I mean, a little bit, especially with Salah and Mane coming back, like I'm a little bit concerned, but I also think he's the kind of player that can come in for 30 minutes and put a couple tap-ins in the goal.
And all he does is score tap-ins.
All he does is score tap-ins. Hey, I'm not denying it. But so I might just keep him and hope for a couple, points here and there.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
I do have Bruno this week. That was my one transfer this week, was bringing in Bruno for, wait for it, Sterling. Definitely also a little bit of a risky transfer. I'd say like on the level of leaving Kurt Zuma freely available to walk through an animal shelter unattended, like that level of risk. But again,
I don't think it's quite there, but we'll see.
Perhaps not quite at that level of risk, but regardless, I brought him in anyway. Again, Sterling probably won't get the full 90 and quite possibly might not even start. Again, I have Bowen. Foden, I'm looking forward to see how he plays versus Norwich. That should be an interesting one. I have Son. I decided to keep him because this week I was really deciding between getting rid of Sterling and getting rid of Son, and I settled on getting rid of Sterling because Son has the upcoming double in 26 at decent looking fixtures. Onward from that, on top of the fact that Spurs are just kind of looking better. I mean, both offensively and defensively.
They did just lose 3-2 to Southampton at home.
They did just lose 3-2 to Southampton, but they showed some promise, and Son scored in that game.
Yeah.
So we've got that. We've got Watkins up top. Hopefully he can steal all the goals from Coutinho, because I don't have Coutinho. And then King and Dennis. I mean, they're pretty much just like bench fodder at this point. I don't even know why.
Both absolute shite.
Both absolute shite. I mean, I may as well start Alonso this week. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So let's just make that transfer right now. There's no point in keeping either Dennis or King, in the starting 11. I mean, they're literally trash. I'll probably bench them in game week 26 as well, despite the fact that they have a double game week. So that's pretty much where we're at for this week. I honestly would probably play Foster over both of them because Watford are actually like maybe having the potential to keep a clean sheet these days. But I don't know if you have any thoughts on this team, Jarrett. Like, what do you think? Like, do you think Alonso has the potential this week to any thoughts?
Yeah, so I would probably say that the team that you have on right now is probably slightly different than the one that will actually end up getting points. I wouldn't expect Cancelo to play at all. I think Nori probably comes on for him. And then, so having said that, the defense definitely, maybe not the strongest one you've ever fielded. But you have big points potential in both Jota, Foden, and Son that I don't have. And so we'll see. We'll see where the points fall this week. I'm excited.
We will. It really will come down to a few key players in both of our teams and how certain games play out. I mean, the Spurs game, the Liverpool game, and the Villa game. The Villa game will be huge. A huge decider for this week.
Coutinho versus Watkins.
Indeed. So yeah, I guess with that, Jarrett, do you have any closing thoughts about this game week? Any plans for the future, for the upcoming game weeks, like what you're thinking about doing long term, anything like that?
Long term? No, I don't think about long term.
Yeah. No, that's a good point actually, because we really are living in a time of uncertainty. Thinking about transfers more than 2 or 3 game weeks in the future is a really futile effort.
All right. Having said that, we've wrapped up our overview of last game week and preview of the coming game week. If you're new to the channel, which all of you are, make sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.